What's going on, guys? Chris Albert here with the Warrior Soul Gogi, and I want to talk to you today about why YouTube fitness is so bad now, right? And I see this with a couple of caveats. I did a video a few days ago about why I'm no longer considering myself a YouTube fitness person, why I kind of left it behind. And, a big reason for it is because I pretty much thought that I had talked about everything I was ever going to talk about, right? If you want to learn anything about what I've ever had to say about fitness, you can go and check it out on this channel, right? There's tons of playlists below. You can check those out. But I also want to say this. I'm going into this video. I want you to understand that I have nothing to sell you. I'm not going to try and sell you my program. I'm not going to try and get you to buy anything. I really just want people to get closer to where they want to be. And I think being healthy and fit is a huge part of that. And fulfilling their goals is a huge part of that. And it pains me to see how much misinformation is out there. So I want you to understand something about this platform right from the start. And that is this: it lends itself to misinformation. Now, it's not just because it's got independent content contributors who anybody can post a video. It comes down to the market in general, right? So number one, what do people want when it comes to YouTube? They want quick fixes, right? They're generally on here if they're trying to solve a problem, or they're looking to be entertained, right? They're looking to turn their brains off for a little bit. And you know what? That's human nature. I tried to battle it for a while. As you can see, if you look at my channel analytics, I did really poorly at that, right? 6 years and just over 20,000 subscribers. And I think my average watch rate is like 50 people, right? Wasn't very popular here with the community, but that's because people generally want those two things I mentioned, and I never really provided those. Right? So that's the big thing you have to understand. The market is fueling this. Now, here's the other aspect of it. We live in a time and place where people could start businesses like that, okay? And with the onset of YouTube, anybody can create, anybody can broadcast, and same thing with Facebook and Instagram and pretty much all social media. So what happened 5-6 years ago when I first got onto YouTube, there weren't a lot of YouTubers, right? Not in fitness. You had like Elliot Hulse, you had, Scott Herman, you had Jeff Cavalier, you had a few other big names. CT, I'd put him in there. Mike Rashid, I'd put him in there. But when I started, there weren't tons and tons of people doing YouTube fitness, right? It started with Ziz, right? But then, kind of branched out. Now, if you look at what's happened with the global economy and the way businesses are growing, the second fastest growing industry on the planet right now is online coaching. Okay. Now, why is that happening? Well, it's because, number one, the economy is pretty good right now and people want to take advantage of it. But also, people don't really want to work, right? They want to quit their jobs. They want to start online businesses. And that's what I do with my consulting company. I help coaches, life coaches, help financial services people, help them to start online businesses, right? And because that, and a lot of people say, okay, online business is growing faster than anything else and you should jump into the industry, but it's actually a bad thing, right? It's a bad thing. Why? Because there's literally thousands of online coaches in all different realms, not just fitness, but thousands of coaches jumping onto the internet every single week. Right? And what does that do? What that does is it increases the amount of supply, right? The amount of competition you've got out there, okay? And right now it's pretty much saturated. I'm sure every time you log on here on YouTube or you log on to Instagram, you're seeing somebody new, somebody who is basically trying to capture your attention to show you how great they are, how great their abs are, how big their squat is, how awesome they are, right? They're trying to capture your attention that way. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to catch up with those big dogs I mentioned earlier, right? They're trying to run up, they're trying to become the next thing. But to do that in a place, right? because we have an influx of knowledge. There's literally nobody's lacking knowledge right now. There's tons of knowledge. You pick up your phone, you can look up anything, right? But because there's so much knowledge out there, it's harder to get noticed. And because there's so many trainers out there and fitness people, it's harder to get noticed. So what do you have to do? Well, remember those two things I mentioned earlier? Either motivation or entertainment or quickly solve a problem, right? Well, the big dogs, the early guys like Elliot Hulse, Jeff Cavalier, Scott Herman, and CT and Mike, well, they had a lot of that covered, right? And there were some other ones out there too, right? Rich Piana, all those guys, they had a lot of that stuff covered, right? They covered the motivational aspect. If you were going to get motivated to go to the gym, you'd watch a CT video. If you want to learn how to do an exercise, you'd go to Scott Herman. If you wanted to learn anything about powerlifting, or strongman, or anything like, go to Elliot Hulse. And if you wanted to learn about getting shredded and becoming more athletic and more functional, you go to Jeff Cavalier, right? But the new trainers who were coming around the block, well, they had to figure something out. So they started having to try, and they call this in the business world, positioning themselves, right? So they started trying to position themselves with new things, right? So this is where you start to see all these off-the-wall diets, and you start to see all these off-the-wall training programs, right? Because people want to get noticed. They're trying to get noticed in different ways. So they start playing around with things. And this is where this starts to get dangerous, because in an effort to come up with something new, in an effort to try to get noticed, then people are putting this stuff out into the world so that they can build their businesses and sell their programs, right? Because this shit is hard, right? Online business is hard. Online business is difficult in general. Now, what does that mean for all of you, right? What does that mean for all of you? Well, it means that, number one, the reality is there are no tricks, right? There are no tricks. If you want to look good, if you want to get stronger, if you want more muscle on that body, then that means that you need to train hard and eat right, right? Train hard and eat right. Now, we can debate about what training hard and eating right is, but it pretty much comes down to basics, right? You know, multi-joint movements, make sure that you're not getting injured, utilizing good form, understanding good programming, right? And when it comes to food, it comes down to cooking for yourself, preparing your own meals, right? Eating a lot of good whole foods, right? Making sure that you're getting enough protein, carbohydrates, and fats, right? And you're all sitting there like, dude, I know this already, what the fuck? Stop throwing me stuff that I already know, right? But that's the thing. You already know it. Are you doing it? Have you stuck with a program longer than 1 or 2 months, right? Have you trained hard and in a way that you are really looking after your form and really following a good program, right? For a lot of you, the answer is probably no, because you're not being honest with yourselves, right? But it comes down to being honest about what you're doing. How much work are you putting in? Am I putting the right work in, right? Am I following a ridiculous diet that isn't giving me enough calories and isn't giving me the nutrition I need, right? All these different things. Now, if you look at me in the past, I've talked a whole lot about ketosis, and I've talked a whole lot about fasting, right? And one of the things I've always tried to do is I've always tried to put these things out there as potential tools that you could use. One thing in a bucket of a whole lot of other tools, right? What it basically comes down to is you need to figure out what is going to work for you and what you're going to be able to be consistent at, because consistency is the king or queen, whatever you want to call it, right? It's about consistency. You might not be able to last a day doing the ketogenic diet I was doing, right? You might have awful autoimmune reactions for eating Pop-Tarts if you're doing flexible dieting, right? But the only way you know and understand that is, number one, if you've actually gone out there and done the work to understand your body, And number two, you've actually gone out there and done real research, not just sitting here looking at some talking head like me on this platform, but actually going out there and reading books, trying to delve into the journal articles. And a lot of you might not want to do that, right? I mean, that's the thing. But it comes down to this. A lot of you are looking for easy answers. A lot of you are looking for shortcuts. And because of that, well, that's why there's a lot of really bad advice out there and a lot of people getting freaking rich off of that bad advice. So at the end of the day, stop looking for the simple solutions, stop looking for the tricks, and start putting in the work if you don't want to get scammed. That, guys, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back at you again this week with more non-fitness related material. If you're interested in checking out more of my content, head over to Warriorsoul Agoge. That's AGOGE.com. Link is below. And if you want to really listen to me, make sure you hit that subscribe and that little bell that's under there. First time I ever said that. Smash that subscribe button. Smash that like button. It doesn't sound right when I say it. I'm too old. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Peace.